Yes, it all started out as a mild curiosity in the junkyard.
There are some corners of the universe which have meant the most terrible things.
Always remember, of course, not to reverse the polarity of the neutron.
My dear.
It seems on a moment too soon.
Decision.
Don't worry, it's bigger than this.
Doctor.
Excuse me, do you mind not farting while I'm saying I always read the instructions. Kidneys! How can you kidneys? Like a jelly baby. Shut up! Shut up!
Welcome to episode 245 of Doctor Who Time and Space, a weekly Doctor Who podcast starring me, Lewis Moon.
And me, Dr. Cool.
So we're into a new year now.
It is. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, everyone. We're into 2018.
What could I say? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Every year's a Happy New Year, isn't it? Pretty much.
Well, yeah, apart from 2016 when we had no Doctor Who. Every year since 2005, bar 2016, has been a happy Doctor Who year. Apart from those early Capaldi era haters. To say that Doctor Time and Space isn't going anywhere. Because it's a new year. We've got loads to come this year. Obviously, we've got various events and stuff, and we'll be discussing what's to come in both the podcast and in Doctor Who itself later on in the show. But it's a very important year for Doctor Who this year because with a brand new Doctor, Jodie Whittaker, the first ever female Doctor. So it must be a very important year. I think there's going to be a lot of experiments with incoming showrunner Chris Chibnall. And Chris Chibnall is actually, we should have a key word week, and Chris Chibnall is our key word this week.
Okay.
Just to say that there's not much new on the show in terms of not much too different in terms of the format of the show. We're recording this on live stream in the initial run, so if it sounds a bit more, it doesn't sound as good as last week's, then that's for YouTube reasons.
Yeah, we're still in a bit of limbo at the moment, aren't we, in terms of our key base. But
yes.
So what have we got on this week's show?
So this week, on episode 245, as I said, we will be looking forward to 2018 with our Who Year's resolutions.
Oh, we'll be a bit of a surprise here, folks. We'll be giving you a review of the David Tennant era episode 42, and we'll explain why a bit later. Because there are some changes to the randomizer. So, plus we we won't. Plus we will be looking at the latest news and views. And that should about round things up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because let's explain it, because people may be thinking, my God, I've only tuned in because I wanted to hear their review of the Dalek episode.
Yeah, Destiny of the Daleks.
Because that came up on the randomizer last week, but for reasons which we won't bore you with, we've not been able to watch that one this week. So instead, we pressed the randomizer offline, and it came up with 42.
Yes, we would have been able to watch it, but for various reasons we couldn't. So we'll be watching that next week.
Yeah.
And yes, we've got 42, which is Chris Chibnall's first Doctor Who story.
Which is quite good, because it seems like Chibnall is our word of the day.
And it was our randomizer, actually. We did click the randomizer again. So it is totally random. We haven't just picked an episode.
No.
It's totally random. And I believe every other week we'll be doing it very differently, the randomizer. Should we explain that now, or should we do that later?
No, we'll do it now. I think logistically, it's difficult watching some of the ones on DVD every other week, so we're going to be doing it slightly differently.
Yes, so we're going to be watching we're going to be watching one New Who, and then the next week Classic Who.
Yeah, so we're going to have 2 randomizers, a classic and New Who one.
Which is, I think it could work. Do you think it could work better? Because
I think it could, actually.
I think some people want a bit of variation, and I know some podcasts that do one Classic Who review one week, one New Who the next week. So it's brilliant to have that variation every week, and we get to explore different worlds in Doctor Who every week, which is fantastic.
I think so. So what have you been up to this week?
Obviously it's that annoying week this week. I mean, we've reached a new year, but it's we've all gone back to normality, haven't we?
Normality has returned. Yeah.
So from next week onwards, probably maybe even this week onwards, there won't be as much to talk about as previous weeks, because I've been watching Doctor Who Christmas specials over the previous few weeks.
Yeah.
This week I watched. What did I watch? I listened to. So I don't know whether I said yes. I did say this last week. If you listened to the show last week, on Podomatic, then you may know that I purchased the First Doctor Adventures Volume 1.
Yeah.
So I brought that, and I've given the first part of that a go.
Yeah.
Yes. It's very good. It's a story featuring William Hartnell's Doctor, as played by David Bradley, played him in the Christmas special. And I love Bradley's portrayal of the First Doctor. I think it's brilliant, and he captivates all of those personalities and little things that the First Doctor does.
He does. He gets
I think that's fantastic.
very well,
the mannerisms, fantastic. And it's great to hear as well. Jamie Glover, I believe, and Gemma Powell and Claudia Grant as Ian, Barbara and Susan. And then James Dreyfus was introduced at the end of part 1 of The Destination Wars, who's playing the first Master. So he predates Roger Delgado's incarnation.
Oh, right, okay. So yeah, that's interesting then.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I'd always assumed that Delgado was the first.
I'd always assumed that too.
But I guess it'd never been confirmed, so yeah, okay.
I haven't done much more this week.
No.
Definitely in the Doctor Who universe. I think it's been a week where we've had to go back to normality, I think, after the hectic times of Christmas and New Year. But I haven't really had a chance to watch any more Doctor Who's or listen to any more Doctor Who's because I've been quite busy, and hopefully soon I will get a chance to watch some more Doctor Who's. Like I've got Sharda and Planet of the Giants, and yes, I know what I did watch.
Yeah.
Smile.
Oh yeah.
I rewatched Smile the other day. It is quite an enjoyable story.
I like Smile,
but it's one of those stories which is great at. Like the pilot, it's great at what it's trying to achieve, but it's not. It's one of those stories which works best on the first time.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
It doesn't really work as well on second time viewing, and I think it's one of those sort of one-hit wonders, if you like, but in a different definition.
Yeah.
Have you been doing anything this week?
I'm going to surprise you here. I have been doing something.
Have you?
Yeah, I actually watched episode 1 of Sherlock.
Did you?
Yeah, I've said that I was going to watch Sherlock for the last couple of years.
That is surprising.
Really enjoyed it, actually.
Did you?
Really,
yeah.
really
What's the first one about again?
No idea what it's called, but it's obviously the one where he Dr. Watson come back from the war or whatever, and they meet up, and he's got this sort of serial killer in it. He's like a taxi driver.
Oh yeah. The first series isn't as good as the next couple. I think it does get better as it goes along.
I really enjoyed
Apart
this
from
one.
the fourth, it's a bit of a disappointing conclusion. Series 4.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Really
okay, brilliant.
Very much.
Brilliant. We did watch a James Bond film yesterday.
We did. Yeah.
Yes, we watched For Your Eyes Only.
Yeah. That's it. Which is good. You can't meet a bit of classic Bond.
Yeah, I was light on story. Well, no, it's not very understandable.
Yeah, I think it was just a little bit. It was a little bit light on story, really. It's not one of the best Bond films, although
It is,
it features the best Bond, in my opinion, Roger Moore.
Yes, although most people would say Sean Connery.
Most people probably, yeah. And the new guy's pretty good. I say
Daniel
new guy,
Craig.
he's not that new now, is he?
No, he's been doing it for 12 years now.
12 years?
12 years.
Really?
12 years. Can you remember when he was announced?
I don't know, but I was watching his first one, Casino Royale, the other day. And he looked a lot younger, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
right,
indeed.
interesting.
He must be the longest serving Bond now.
Maybe.
Surely.
I guess it doesn't seem like it, but I guess in the old days they were doing one a year, weren't they? Pretty
Yeah,
much,
they were.
I think.
Sean Connery they were, and then
Yeah.
Roger Moore, they did them like every 2 years or
Yeah,
3
yeah.
maybe.
I'd say Roger Moore probably slightly longer still, isn't he?
Yeah. No,
Maybe.
the same, I think.
Okay.
Same length.
Right.
But
okay.
by the time we get to Daniel Craig's last film next year, it'll be 1 year longer.
And yet it would only have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 films.
Yeah.
5 films.
yeah.
5 or 4.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace.
But listen,
Yes.
this is a Doctor Who podcast.
This is a Doctor Who podcast, not a James Bond podcast. Listen to James Bond Time and Space if you want to hear more about James Bond.
Yeah, that's right. We can't have
yes.
everything, can we?
So next up, we're going to go in to the news.
Oh, are we?
Yes, it all
Oh,
started
didn't
out.
do that.
No. We're doing this live, and it's always quite fun to do
Yeah,
it live.
it's quite funny that because just a minute ago that had the words Doctor Who Time and Space short on it, and now it hasn't. And let's try this little jingle. What does this do for us?
Yep. Be patient with us. Bear
I
with.
didn't do anything at all.
Bear with us. Bear with
Let's
us.
try that again. There
we go. That's more like it.
Good.
We sort of what?
I was just trying to find it so I don't have to find it again, but I'll have to do that later. Right, okay. Yeah.
So we've had Twice Upon a Time now.
Mhm.
So we're here in what is sort of the aftermath of Twice Upon a Time. And whilst we're in the middle of Twice Upon a Time and the Series 11, it's quite hard to fill the news, I think. It gets harder to fill the news.
Yeah. If there's no news and we don't talk too much news-wise and we skip straight on to our main articles.
But there's not much news this week. We've got a few bits.
Mhm.
So, Twice Upon a Time had a 7-day official rating of 7.92 million viewers.
Okay.
The rating includes those who recorded the program and watched it within 7 days.
So
Yes.
how does that compare with last year's? It's about the same, isn't it?
So, Return of Dr. Mysterio had 7.83, and
Okay.
Twice Upon a Time had 7.92.
Okay.
Um,
Slightly more, but I guess on the basis that it's got the regeneration,
yes.
you'd expect that, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
The final rating is an increase of over 2.2 million on the initially reported figure. It makes Twice Upon a Time the highest rated episode of Doctor Who since the 2014 Christmas episode Last Christmas, which scored 8.28 million. Comparing it to the previous 2 Regeneration episodes, Time of the Doctor got 11.14 million and End of Time got 12.04 million.
Yeah.
How many viewers do you think Jodie Whittaker's first episode will receive?
Well, I would say that I'd anticipate a significant increase, and I think there will be an increase, but I'm not sure it will be that significant because I just think viewing figures are down full stop.
Roughly, would you say 8 million?
Yeah, I'd go with about 8.
8 million, yeah. An additional 600,000 viewers have accessed the episode on the BBC iPlayer so far. Doctor Who was the 6th highest rated programme on Christmas Day. Top for the show was the drama Call the Midwife with 9.57 million watching, just ahead of Mrs. Brown's Boys with 9.04 million.
Why?
The Queen's Christmas Message had 8.18 million viewers across BBC One and ITV1.
I find it amazing that the Queen's Christmas Message, I mean, they show that every year, and she still manages to keep it fresh and interesting.
I know. I watched it this year.
You'd have thought she'd have run out of stories.
Yeah, I know. I watched it this year, and I hadn't. I don't usually watch it. So it's interesting to see it. Now I would usually listen to it on the radio or something. The highest rated show on ITV1 was Coronation Street with 6.99 million.
Quite a long way down. It surprised me how low Coronation Street was actually, because I always thought that was Britain's favourite soap.
No.
Yeah.
A chart placing for the whole week will be available next Monday, so I'm guessing we'll have that by next week's show.
Sounds promising.
In 2017, Doctor Who had an average rating of 5.64 million viewers, compared with 6.16 million for the 2015 series.
Okay. Which I think again, it just shows the spiraling downwards state of British television.
I think it does.
I don't mean that negative. I'm not saying the quality of television's gone down, but just the viewing figures have significantly gone down.
They definitely have, and it is a shame that the viewing figures have had to have that little bit of a tumble.
There's just so much else available now. That's the thing. Whether you're talking DVDs, you're talking, even just down to other channels.
Yeah, like
so many other channels.
Also streaming channels and stuff, Netflix and Amazon Prime.
That's right.
Other things like that.
Yeah, and things like Xboxes, PlayStations, which have, people are spending a lot more time gaming.
True, they are. But what about Christmas Day?
Yeah, there will be. People have their new games.
True.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the latest special edition of Doctor Who magazine is a unique celebration of the 12th Doctor's final adventures, from the return of Dr. Mysterio through to Twice Upon a Time. Packed full of all new features and previously unseen images, this is the essential guide to the year in Doctor Who. At the end of 2017, a remarkable chapter in the history of Doctor Who drew to a close. 2 incarnations of the Time Lord overcame an existential threat before the arrival of the 13th Doctor heralded a bold new era for the programme. Highlights include exclusive new interviews with Joe Browning, Jimmy Mann, Gary Pollard and Kate Walsh from Millennium FX, Yasmin Churchman, aka the voice of Alpha Centauri, Matthew Clark, the graphic designer of the 2017 series, Rachel Denning, Eric in Pyramid at the End of the World, Mark Gatiss, you know who that is, Stephanie Hyam, who's Heather in The Pilot and the Doctor Falls, Adele Lynch, who's Iraxa in The Empress of Mars, Rove McManus, who's the host of Australian show Whovians, Rachel Tallahay, director of 3 episodes in the 2017 series, and Alexandra Tynan, the designer of the original Cybermen.
Fantastic.
So, yes, that's a cool new book, which is the Dorm 2018 yearbook.
Have you got that or not?
I haven't yet, no.
Okay. Were you bothered with that one or not?
Yes,
do you like the yearbooks?
I usually get those ones. So, yes, a bit of Christmas money maybe. Or birthday.
Okay. Any more news?
Meanwhile, a new fan-produced publication written in tribute to the Doctor Who annuals of the 1970s is looking for contributors. So somewhere in the multiverse, it's always 1972. The unofficial Doctor Who 1972 annual is a fan-produced homage to those old Doctor Who annuals originally produced by world distributors. Before there was VHS, before there were DVDs, fans would have eagerly await the yearly arrival of the Doctor's new adventures, in many ways very different to those that played out on screen. However, for the Christmas of 1971, no such adventures arrived. The unofficial 1972 annual is entirely fan-produced and will almost definitely be loss profit-making. But don't worry, the only investment we want is your time and talent. Although the annual is well underway, including a contribution from Ian Levine, we still need more contributors. Ian Levine.
So, who was the Doctor at that period?
John Pertwee.
John Pertwee. So does that mean the stories have to be Third Doctor related?
I believe, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what the annuals would usually be. Now they'd be Peter Capaldi related.
So was 1970s was the last one, was it?
So
it said Christmas 1971. There wasn't one.
Yeah, but then they came back, I think.
Oh,
I think they came back afterwards. But
is it that CD that I got for you then? The CD I got, was that from these?
Yes, these sorts
Okay,
of things.
right, okay. Excellent.
We need stories that feature the Third Doctor, his new assistant, Miss Josephine Grant, and Unit. We are looking for stories that don't necessarily have to be too serious. In fact, the more fun, the better. We want the 1972 annual to be humorous, but family-friendly, and maybe just a little bit daft, but always fun. If you want to be a part of something special, please email doctorwhoannual@aol.co.uk. Also, check the Facebook page. The unofficial 1972 annual will be released in 2018.
Okay, excellent.
Fantastic.
That's really good idea.
Fantastic, yes. So I think that's it for the news.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, that is a short news week.
Is light this week.
You've got to keep talking because I've got to try and find the jingle again.
Okay, yeah, news is very light this week. Obviously, we're waiting eagerly for more announcements on Series 11, which, have you noticed that filming's been quite light? We haven't got many set pics or anything.
We haven't, have we?
So,
no.
I'm thinking pretty shortly they'll be announcing supportive cast members, writers, directors, all sorts of things, and stories, initial sort of titles for stories, and all sorts of things. Because usually when a new series would come out later on in the year, they would announce that. So I think in the coming weeks we'll get a lot more announcements about Series 11. Okay.
That was better. That
was smoother, yeah. So today we are going to be discussing, as our main feature on the show, what's coming in 2018 on in Doctor Who.
Okay.
So we'll be discussing what we think are going to be some of the highlights, our hopes for the things that are to come, and also teasing a bit about what's coming on the podcast in the upcoming year.
Okay.
Okay.
You going to kick it off?
Yeah, so obviously this year's main highlight for Doctor Who fans is seeing Jodie Whittaker for the first time as the Doctor. So let's talk about Jodie.
Okay.
What were your, just to recap, what have your thoughts been of Jodie since the reaction, and have they changed since the reaction? The announcement, even.
As you know, I mean, I was pretty down the middle really in terms of Jodie's appointment. I don't know enough about her to be able to comment on whether she's a good actress or not. So I was purely going off of the fact that she's a woman, not a man, and all that debacle. I didn't have a problem with it in principle. I just always had that preference that if they're going to have a female lead, that it's a separate character. But
yes.
You know, things are great when they've got a female lead. It's not in any way sexist. It's just I wasn't completely sold on the changing the sex concept, albeit that we'd had that obviously with Missy and various other minor Time Lord characters prior to that. But anyway, so that happened. Didn't really know too much what to expect. Was a bit disappointed by the costume design, although it's grown on me, to be fair, as time's gone on. But it still does look a little bit play schooly.
It looks a bit crap.
But I was very impressed with the 5 minutes, or however many, probably less than that, a few minutes at the end of the Christmas special.
Me too.
I really liked her facial reaction when she turned into the Doctor.
Oh, brilliant!
Really liked that. And it was, it looked exciting. There's no way we can comment too much based on that very short appearance.
Because usually when the Doctors first appear, they're very different to how they are when they actually are first introduced in the next series. Yeah,
no, that's fine. Yeah.
Should I give my opinion?
Yeah, you give your opinion.
So when she was first announced, I was sort of the same. I'd never heard of Jodie as an actress, really. I mean, I knew what Broadchurch is and the basic plot. I'd never watched it or anything, but I think I'd seen pictures of her from Broadchurch and various other shows before. But when the name first came into the bookies list, I don't know about you, but I wasn't really sure who it was. Did you know who it
No,
was?
no, I had no idea.
No,
Having said that, to be fair, that's not any great surprise. I've never heard of Peter Capaldi.
No.
Either. You know, I don't know one person from another.
Yeah.
I went along to Madame Tussauds a few years ago with my friend Tony and his wife, and we were walking around, and I had no idea who any of the people were.
Really?
Unless it was somebody like the Queen or the Prime Minister. It was like, oh, that's a good wax work. Oh yeah. No idea who it is, but looks
Yeah,
cool.
I know. And they are great. Are there any Doctor Who waxworks still left?
I don't believe so. I remember there being a Tom Baker one. I'm pretty sure years ago. Yeah.
So what was I going to say? Yeah. I was like that. I was thinking a little while ago. I was thinking I was sort of against the whole women thing, but as time's gone on, I've sort of realised that it doesn't matter what gender the Doctor is, and I think it could be a great leap for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And her first appearance in Twice Upon a Time, she was brilliant in her own words, in a great final moment for the episode.
Yeah.
Staying on the subject of Jodie and Series 11. So Series 11 is coming. We've got various other things to discuss about Series 11, which is, of course, the main event about Doctor Who in 2018.
Yeah.
Where do you think Series 11 will start up? Where do you think Jodie will land? And where do you think it'll take place?
Presumably she's going to land on Earth.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yes, I can reveal that they've been filming in Sheffield, so I think we're going to be going to Sheffield in a change of scene.
Does that mean they're no longer filming in Cardiff then? Is filming moved to Sheffield, or is it just
they're filming in Cardiff still? It's just they've gone to Sheffield for some shooting as well, which was for some of the early shoots. So I'm guessing that's where at least part of the series takes place.
Okay.
I hope that's not a spoiler, but
no, it's not at all.
No.
No, that's an interesting one, then, isn't it?
Yeah.
I did wonder whether they would retain the Cardiff base.
Yes.
Or whether they would be moving that afield, because I mean there was talk of Manchester at one point, wasn't there?
There was, yeah, but those rumours were sort of turned down. So, also, let's talk about Chris Chibnall. So we've got a brand new showrunner as well as a brand new Doctor, because this is a brilliant new era for the show, and this is 2018 is probably the easiest year we've had to discuss on the show in quite a while. In terms of we usually do this. We usually do the 3 shows sort of pre-Christmas, and then the review of the Christmas special, and then the look forward to the next year.
Yeah.
What do you think Chris Chibnall will do to the show, and what do you think his approach will be like for the series?
I mean, it's obviously a little bit of an unknown, isn't it? I mean, what do we know? We know that he's had great success with things like Broadchurch, Law and Order. UK. Yeah. We know that he's written some stories for Doctor Who before,
including 42. I randomised a story today,
which we will be reviewing later. What other ones has he done? The Solarian one, you said, didn't you?
He did the Solarian one, Dinosaurs on Spaceship, and Power of Three. Not the greatest track list of episodes.
It's not. No, it's not by any means. In fact, you'd go as far to say it's very poor.
Yeah, it's probably the worst track list of episodes.
Albeit the one we watched today, as we'll talk about a bit later on, but is a good episode. The others, you remind me of them again. So the Solarian, let's just talk through them a second. 42 is good, but we'll talk about that in more detail with the randomizer.
Hungry Earth, Cold Blood
is, I think we both watched it and said this is what Who should be about.
Yeah, and then we watched Doctor and the Solarians a few months later and realised it was a direct rip-off.
Yeah, it is very much so, isn't it? It's pretty much the same story.
Dinosaurs on
Spaceship's very throwaway.
It is. It's his worst story, I think.
And what was the final one?
It's enjoyable enough, but Power of Three.
Power of Three I quite like.
It's enjoyable, but it's sort of like the typical story that would go before the sort of big, sad finale.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm not overly impressed with his run, to be fair, but albeit that what I think it is quite promising is, and we talked about this as being one of the positive points for season 10.
Yeah.
But that whole thing of trying to make it a little bit more appealing to the whole family.
I think that's what you need, because that's what RTD was so popular for, appealing it for the whole family and giving Doctor Who to a new generation, which you need. You need to keep up with the generation, and I think there are various steps that he's made which have successfully proved that.
Yeah. Albeit that I don't actually I don't know, a lot of my favourites probably aren't really the more family friendly ones.
No, true.
They are the more dark.
But it's what's best for Doctor Who, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what's best for Doctor Who is best for all of us. Moving on to another thing that's new in Series 11, the companions. We've got 3 new companions: Bradley Walsh, Tosin Cole, and Mandeep Gill. Is it Gill? And they're playing characters Graham, Ryan, and Yasmin.
Intriguing one. I mean, we talked in depth before about Bradley Walsh's appointment, and where we were both very sceptical, and then came around to it. Probably the big question for me is whether 3 companions works. Now we know that 2 works very strong.
Yes.
Does 3 make it a little bit crowded?
It worked really well in Series 10 with the 2 companions, but then when you look back at previous eras of the show, it worked well in William Hartnell's era, and it worked well in Patrick Troughton's era, but that was back then. It's whether it works in New Who. Yeah.
What we don't know, I guess, is whether all of them are travelling companions. I mean, I do quite like the idea of. I quite like the idea of the Doctor not necessarily being 100% the main focus. Very similar to how it was in the days of William Hartnell, where he was obviously a very important character. You know, there'll be times when Ian would take the lead, for instance. You know?
Or Barbara.
So I quite like that idea.
I like that too. And there were things saying that perhaps not all of the companions would be in it at the same time at points. Like sometimes 2 of the companions will be there, or sometimes like Ryan will be there with the Doctor or something. And I think that do you think that would work, or do you think it'd be quite disjointed?
I think that could work. Again, it'd be making things a little bit different. I then look at it on another sort of side, and I think around the Peter Davidson era, where it felt very much like an overcrowded TARDIS.
It did, yeah.
Skeptical, I guess. It could work. It may not.
Yeah, I would agree.
There was something else that occurred to me about the companions, and I'm trying to think what it was now. Never mind, it might come back to me.
Yes. Okay. Other things in Series 11, just a few short things to note in Series 11 that are coming. New TARDIS. What do you think the new TARDIS should be like?
Well, personally, I would love to see it look a bit more retro, but I don't think we're going to get retro from.
No.
I was thinking about more generally, and again, I might be wrong. I don't think we will get the same level of Easter eggs that we had with Moffat. Moffat was obviously a real Doctor Who geek, and he would get as many references to classic Who in there as he could, really, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
I liked that for a great amount of time. I did go a bit tired of it.
Me too, yeah. And it was there too much. Right?
Yeah. So I quite like the idea of this being something really fresh and new, where we see very little reference to classic Who, classic monsters.
Yeah, I mean,
it's great when you get a return of a classic monster. But do you know what? I actually think it might be quite good if we don't get one for a bit.
I was going to go on to that. Obviously, there's the Terry Nation estate thing, and I really don't want Daleks to interfere, but I think it would work really well if we had if it's a serialized approach, definitely have new monsters. I think just have new monsters, make it feel fresh and new, make it feel like a different show, but still still paying homage to its past.
Yeah. Now, format wise, we know that they're going to be hour-long specials, don't we? 55 minutes on that.
So there's 10 50-minute episodes,
which is crap.
It is crap, yeah, because we've got to wait until October. No, got to wait till some point between August and October. So we know that it's August at the earliest and October at the latest. I'm personally thinking it'll be on the bank holiday, August the 25th, that the episode's on, because they usually like to put them on the bank holidays. But I just think it doesn't make any difference. And the first episode is good because that's a 65-minute episode.
Okay, yeah.
But then the rest of them are 50. Probably the finale will be longer.
I guess one thing you could say about
and if there's a Christmas special, we'll go on to Christmas specials in a second.
If we look at Chibnall's record as a Doctor Who writer, for all the criticisms about the fact that some of the episodes aren't particularly good that he's written, they all feel very self-contained, and none of them feel rushed.
Yeah, indeed.
I mean, you think about how often I've moaned about rushed episodes, and I don't think any of his are rushed.
No, I don't think they are. I think they are quite good paced.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Yeah. So what I was going to go on to next. One thing, Sonic Screwdriver. Do you think we've only had this Sonic Screwdriver for a series? Do you think they'll maintain it, or do you think they'll get a new one?
I think they should just get rid of the damn thing.
Yeah.
They say what they won't, because again, it's a real marketing gizmo. But I'd like to see there being less emphasis on the Sonic Screwdriver, because it does feel like throughout Moffat's era, it was the get out of jail card.
Yeah, we went
too many
most of the Peter Davison era and all of the Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy eras without a Sonic Screwdriver.
Yeah, that's right. So it doesn't need it. Particularly, you don't need that and Sonic glasses.
No, you don't. Also, Christmas specials. Do you think there'll be a Christmas special this year? I mean, when the initial announcement was made about 10 times 50-minute episodes, they said nothing about Christmas specials. So there are 3 possibilities, I think. There's the Christmas special is one of the 10.
Yeah.
They haven't included the Christmas special / it's included as the first episode of the next series, or there is no Christmas special.
I think there will be.
I
can't see that they won't have one, because people will want one. There's an expectation that you get a Who Christmas special, isn't there?
It seems an annual tradition now, and I quite like it now. I quite like having it.
Yeah.
I hope it's there. I think a lot of people will be angry if there isn't one.
Well, surely we'll be getting Jodie's regeneration, won't we?
Yeah, if it doesn't work out. Anything else you'd like to discuss on Series 11?
And it never came back to me what I was thinking about. But do you think the format? Go back to formatting a little bit. We've talked a little bit before about whether or not there'll be standalone stories or serialization. Are you very against the serialization idea?
Yes, because it's not what's best for Doctor Who. If you're having a light family entertainment story, which is what Chris Chibnall's stories are, and you have it in the sort of tone that Chris Chibnall's previous stories are, I don't think it will work.
Okay.
It has to.
I do quite like the idea.
I think it has to be quite a dark, gritty storyline if you're doing a serialized approach, and I don't think that's going to work with what they want Series 11 to be.
Do we know who any of the writers are? I mean, there was again a lot of talk.
Confirmed one.
Is it? There was a lot of talk about this whole writers' room type approach.
So there's a few nuggets of news we've got. Sarah Dollard confirmed she won't be writing for the next series.
Okay.
Because of other projects that are going on. Mark Gatiss said in Dawn that he won't be writing it, but he said Chris Chibnall has a whole load of new writers. So I'm thinking maybe Chris Chibnall is going to be the only writer who has written to the show prior to.
It's a shame though if we lose people like Jamie Matheson.
I know.
And Peter Harness.
Yeah, I know. They've written some great stories.
Yeah.
Even though you weren't a big fan of Oxygen.
No, I wasn't. But I will watch it again one day, and it'll probably become my favourite one ever.
Yeah, probably. Also, is that it for Series 11?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, just to discuss other things, London Comic Con this year.
Yeah, that's right. We've got some interesting guests there.
Yes, Pearl McKee's there, so I'm guessing we're going to be meeting her.
I would imagine so.
That's we may catch more guests will be announced on that to come because it's at the end of July, so we've got a few months left to wait. But we'll announce we'll be revealing more guests for our third London Comic Con that we'll be attending.
Are there any other Who people?
Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy are going to be there.
Of course,
they are always there.
Yeah. Of course.
Is there anyone else there that's confirmed? I'll have to check later. Yeah. Also, on the podcast, is there anything to notify on the podcast this year other than changes in the randomizer? Or
no, I don't think so. I think we talked about the randomizer earlier on. We promised last week a new theme tune.
Yes.
And we haven't yet done it.
It's coming on 250.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the aim. 250,
which is.
It's a milestone episode, isn't it?
It is a milestone episode. 250 episodes.
And I think actually, rather than doing it every year, it probably should be certain milestones where we change it, like a new Doctor.
Yes, we changed it at 200, so we'll change it at 250, and
probably at 300.
Maybe there'll be some new articles and stuff later on this year. Slight changes to the podcast, but we'll still be here. The brilliant us. And we've got obviously the Series 11 reviews, which will probably be the highlight to listen to, as well as.
Okay, should we skip on then to our review of 42?
Let's skip on to our review of 42. Okay, so today we sort of did we explained earlier on in the episode the changes to the randomizer. We've decided that we were going to watch a new Who episode this week, which we're going to be doing every 2 weeks, and then next week we'll be watching the classic Who story, Destiny of the Daleks. The randomizer plucked out for us Chris Chibnall's first Doctor Who story, which was a David Tennant story and a Martha story at that, which is 42.
Why is it called 42, by the way?
Because they've got 42 minutes.
Okay, I was thinking afterwards. I couldn't remember how many minutes they had. Funny enough, I was thinking I wonder how many minutes. Actually, the plot summary, which I'm about to read out to you, would have revealed that. So, shall I kick off with the plot summary? So this is one with the Doctor and the Martha. The Doctor and the Martha. They receive a distress signal from a ship which is hurtling towards a star, and basically the Doctor sort of leaps to the rescue like he always does. TARDIS gets there as quick as it can, but they become separated from the TARDIS due to very high temperatures on the new ship created by the star. The engines of the ship have failed, and there's only 42 minutes before.
I thought it was 47.
Only 42 minutes before everything plunges into the star and is burnt up for good. They find themselves sort of separated. So the Doctor's with one group, Martha's with the other group, and there's these various deadlocked doors, each with a separate password within them, that Martha and her companion at the time, a guy called Riley, have to use to try and move along. In the meantime, the Doctor's working with the captain of the ship, whose name I can't remember. Kath, was it? Yeah, and her husband, Corwin. They discover that the Corwin guy has actually been infected by some force which is causing his body temperature to zoom up to as hot as the sun.
Ooh.
They try to knock him out through sedation and continue with the repairs, but that doesn't happen, and Corwin manages to escape. And he starts, he's basically, his eyes go all sort of fiery, and he mounts people, really, doesn't he? Or absorbs them. I'm not sure what the phrase is.
Yeah, melts, I suppose.
Effectively melting, isn't it? And
vaporizing,
that's it. And one by one, he starts trying to sort of take out the various members of the ship.
Yeah.
We discover that the reason for this, spoiler alert, is that the crew have actually been taking fuel from the heart of the star, which is illegal to do. And basically, it's the star trying to get its own back on them, and try and get its parts back, so to speak. So that's probably enough of a synopsis, I would say.
Indeed it is.
So, what are your thoughts on 42?
Now, it's... Series 3 is an interesting one, because I like it as a whole, and I think it's got a brilliant conclusion. However, it's not got a great intro, but 42... overall, it's a pretty throwaway story. It's not really got anything to note to add to Doctor Who's chronology, if you like.
It's not got a significant story, really, has it? It's a very basic running around spaceship corridors, trying to avoid a sun ray-eyed baddie.
Yes, but it's a good fun adventure to sit down and enjoy, and I quite enjoyed watching it. I think it's a good story which shows what Doctor Who needs to be, I think.
Yeah, that's right. It's
or
definitely
for the casual audience, at least.
It's definitely a good. Everyone sitting in front of the TV watching the suspenseful Who episode.
Indeed,
it's got that feel to it. Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. And I always like episodes with Martha. I think Martha is a very underrated companion.
I like Martha a lot. I do. What are your thoughts on the episode?
I think generally, I think it's a really good episode. Actually, I think it's very, very exciting. Really good feel to it.
Yes, indeed. I think it does have a really good feel to it.
I remembered it being really strong.
Yes, it's quite a strong story. I would say probably Chris Chibnall's finest.
Yeah, probably.
But
this is first.
There's not a great track record, as we said it.
Yeah. It came a bit earlier than I thought.
Yeah.
But that big question, too good, too bad.
Statement.
When we ask each other the statement, this reminds me of the discussion we had earlier on, where we had that catchphrase thing on Challenge TV, and I was making the point that not many of the things that are on there are actually catchphrase.
Yes.
They're just statements.
Yeah, and too good, too bad is a statement.
Yeah.
You've got Mr. Chips, like with 2 and then a 2, and he chucks one in the bin, and it goes all mouldy.
Yeah.
And then he like puts his thumb up at the other one.
Well, I think the way you do it, you'd have 2 2s, 2 number 2s, so to speak. Or
a toilet.
Let's just forget this, though. I was thinking of a bad 2 and a good 2. But
yes.
There we go. Too good, too bad.
Evil
where
2.
we both think of 2 good things about the subject in question. In this instance, 42. We think of 2 bad things about 42 because some things are too good and some things are too bad.
Indeed.
So 2 good, one apiece.
I would say the feel of the story is great, and the tone, and as I said earlier, I may be repeating myself of what I said earlier, but it is what Doctor Who needs to be.
Yeah.
And I think Chris Chibnall has captivated that sort of, you don't need to know anything about Doctor Who.
No, that's true.
In this story.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some references to the story arc
yeah.
in there, but most of the fans were probably not knowing what that was all about anyway. So even though there were probably some theories, I wasn't a Doctor Who fan back then.
Meant nothing to me, but yeah.
What, when you watched it today?
Yeah, unless you pointed out that the what's his name again?
Harold Saxon.
Harold Saxon, yeah.
Yes, you haven't seen the finale though, have you?
No.
So, yeah. It's it's a fun story, and I think that's one of the things that's so strong about it, and what makes it so fantastic to watch. And it's a solid story for both casual viewers and long-term viewers.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where it rates in the Dawn polls. Actually,
That would be intriguing. Yeah.
I do tend to agree with you on that one. I do think it's a very watchable one, and we like a good one with something gradually taking out all of the, because you always get that sort of thing of, will my favourite one survive?
Yes,
and inevitably they don't.
No, they don't usually. Who's your favourite one?
Probably Cindy Beale.
Oh yeah.
Was it Kath?
Yes.
She's the same woman that was Cindy Beale in EastEnders.
Yeah, she got married to people who she probably regretted getting married to. Yeah,
that's right. Ian Beale and a weird-eyed sun monster thing.
Yeah.
So moving on to my too good. Some things are too good.
Yep.
I think for me, actually, it's the sacrificial moment towards the end. Really big spoiler alert. When Cindy Beale, or whatever her name is in this,
really big spoiler,
jettisons herself out of the craft with her husband, who's been sort of possessed by this
weird eye
creature.
something.
And I really like that. I think it's a very poignant moment in the story.
It is, yeah.
A very close second, which I was toying with which of them to go for, but I really like the scene when Martha's trying to work out who's released the most singles, whether it's Elvis, or who's had the most number ones, or something like that.
Yeah.
Elvis or the Beatles, because that's the clue they need for the password lock. And she phones her mum up, and there's a really great bit of debate with her having this panic about staying alive, and the mum having a panic about what her and the doctor are getting up to in terms of how it's thrown Martha's life.
I know you're not a big fan of like Rose's mum and stuff, but what are your thoughts of Martha's mum?
I don't know. I can't recall seeing her too much, but I like the skepticism she has of the doctor.
Yes, it's quite different.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's my good.
Yes.
Bad. Too bad.
Bad is really hard for this one, I think, because it's quite a solid story. I think probably I'd have to say it's hard to say, and this may be a weak rushed one, but it is quite light on story, and there's not really much story wise in this episode, and it's not one of the strongest aspects of the story.
No, it definitely doesn't really rely on story too much.
And I think that's one of the weaker elements of the story.
Although I did like the reveal around why they're in this problem.
Indeed,
I think the fact that they've been stealing the sort of stuff from the fuel from the sun or whatever.
Yes, and it's not one of the stories which I forgot about most of what happens in this story, because it's not one of the stories which I think, I like that one. It's not one of the stories which pops into my head straight away. It's not one of the notable stories of the era, but it's not a bad one at all. So,
my bad. Okay, my bad.
I've been looking forward to this since we watched the episode.
My bad is going to be that thing that David Tennant does with his face. I don't know how to explain this for the listeners, but
You've got to do it without pulling the face.
But there's that thing he does with his mouth, where he sort of has a wide open mouth.
Yeah.
I could do it, but obviously they can't hear it. But it really, really winds me up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Can you picture it?
I can. Yeah.
Yeah, he does it. There's a few times right at the beginning of the episode when he's coming through like doors, and as he goes to the door, he does this weird open mouth.
Does he do it in
expression.
every episode?
Yeah, he does. I think these fellow Who video people, the 5 Who fans, did a very funny take on David Tennant and his mannerisms.
Yes.
Years ago, didn't they?
They did.
And it's spot on, because he is. There are times where, however much I like David Tennant, the actor, I do find his portrayal of the Doctor quite annoying at times.
Yeah. What else have you seen David Tennant in other than Jessica Jones?
Only really Jessica Jones.
Really?
Yeah. But he was great in that.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah.
I'm
sure that's wrong, actually. You know, he was in Harry Potter, wasn't he?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Well, I found
Not
him a little bit
much.
annoying in that as well. Actually,
Yeah,
can think of it.
he wasn't in it much, really.
Yeah.
on the other hand, what do you think of David Tennant and Freema Regiment in this story?
They're my favourite of the Tennant companion pairings.
Really?
I
would agree.
I quite like how they act together, actually.
Yeah.
And I like Martha's excitement at the fact that she's given this mobile phone at the beginning and she's given the key at the end, and she's likable.
Yes.
It annoys me a little bit the way that they ended up turning her into this sort of like future soldier sort of thing.
I know, that was a bit annoying.
But as I like her as a companion.
Yes, indeed. Should we move on to scores?
Yeah, scores on the doors.
So, sadly, because of the change of plan, I can't do the Twitter poll this week.
Oh, of course you can. No, that's true.
Because I haven't run it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to run it after the event.
I will run it tomorrow. So if you want to share your thoughts, then head over to Dr. Who Time and Space at Twitter tomorrow. So
and then those that have responded to the Destiny of the Daleks one.
Yes.
Is it Destiny of the Daleks?
Yes, we'll get your opinions next week.
We'll do it next week. Yeah.
Monsters.
Monsters.
Out of 10.
It's only sort of a monster, isn't it? But I do like it. I'm going to give it about a 7.
Okay. Pace.
Really good pace, this one. I'm going to give it an 8 for pace.
Okay. Threat.
It's got a really good threat on it, actually. I mean, the whole part when the Doctor actually gets possessed by the sun creature as well is really, really strong.
Yes.
It's actually got as good a threat as you ever seen here. I'm going to give it a 9 for threat.
Really?
Yeah.
Excitement.
Quite exciting. 8.
And story.
6. I don't think the story is the strongest point of it. Anyway.
So that's 38 out of 50.
Yeah,
so quite a strong score.
Yeah, I think it's stronger with these categorizations than it is probably as an episode.
Yes.
As a what do I call the episode? I would probably. I've not looked at this in comparison to how I've scored other things, so I may juggle it around a little bit. But I would say about 7.9.
I've got a 7.6 in my head.
Okay.
Even though there's not much bad about it, it just springs to mind that it's a 7.6 type of story.
Okay.
Okay.
So that brings us to the end of the episode.
The first episode of Doctor Who Time and Space in 2018.
Yeah. What do we have on the second episode of 2018?
Yeah, we will be looking back at Peter Capaldi's era of Who as we discuss the best Peter Capaldi episodes and moments, and all things about the era that's just gone by.
We'll be giving our review of that we should be giving this week of Destiny of the Daleks.
We shall be looking at the latest news and views.
And we'll be pressing the what are we pressing? We'll be pressing the New Who randomizer.
Yeah, the New Who randomizer.
The New Who randomizer.
The New Who randomizer. Ace.
Good stuff. So, how can people get hold of us?
You can get hold of us at Dr. Who Time as in N space on Twitter.
You can look out for the occasionally very rare too good, too bad tweets, which you must do more often.
You need to. You can go to Podomatic at Doctor Time and Space, the Doctor Podcast Alliance, and iTunes at Doctor Time and Space. You can look at the Mysterious Moon YouTube account for more videos from me, and you can go to the Mysterious Moon Adventures.weebly.com website for more opinions and news and updates.
Good. Well, that brings us to the end of this show. I think it's probably a slightly shorter one than normal, I think.
Is it?
But, don't know.
Yeah, it's probably about an hour.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much for listening.
Yes, thank you very much for listening. Why did I say it like that?
I don't know.
Thank you very much for listening. So thank you for listening, and we hope you have had a happy new year, and we hope you had a Merry Christmas, and here's to a great 2018 on Doctor Who Time and Space.
Good.
We will see you next time. Same time,
same space.
Goodbye. just got me wondering about that Doctor Time and Space Too Good Too Bad catchphrase now.